doing container with most water. You're given an integer array height of length n. There are n vertical lines drawn such that the two endpoints of the ith line are I comma 0 and I height. Okay, so it's basically a graph such that the height of the graph is equal to I. Find two lines that together with the x-axis form a container such that the container contains the most water. Return the maximum amount of water a container can store. Okay. Notice that you may not slant the container. Okay, so again, this is a two-pointer problem, and one thing to note is that the maximum amount of water a container can store will be determined by getting the current area given our two lines. And this area will include the height and the length, and the length will basically be the distance between the two lines. So another thing to note is that, let's say for example we have this and this, and we have this here. The water line cannot go up to here obviously because it doesn't match here, so the smaller line is the one that we have to go with. So the smallest line possible is the one that will make up the height out between these two lines. So I think that we can kind of do a basic two-pointer approach where we, first of all, we're keeping track of the distance between the two lines. Second of all, we are keeping track of the current maximum amount of water that we can store, and then we're exercising all these options. And the way we do this is so if for example here, changing this won't really do anything because the max we can do is this right now. So we would have to change this and move this inward to here, because there's no point changing this height here because our maximum height is always just going to be this regardless. So we need to move this. So at any given point, we're going to have to update the pointer with the smaller of the two heights. So yeah, we can go ahead and do that. So first thing I'm going to do is int x equals 0 and int y equals height dot length minus 1. Okay, so these are two pointers, and then distance equals distance will just be the int distance will equal int distance equals height dot length. And I just want to be clear on that. So if I look down at these examples, 0 and 2, so the distance would be 2, not 1. Even though this would be index 1, the distance between this and this is 2, I think. 1, 2, or just 1 maybe. So okay, I think we're gonna do height dot length minus 1 as the distance. So let's say it's 3, then the distance would start as 2, because from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, that would be okay. So height dot length minus 1 is our distance. Okay, so and then we'll say int max water equals now let's just go ahead and we'll do int max water. Okay, now we can say while x is smaller than y, smallest, and then we'll say this is just again another temp int smallest height. Okay, smallest height equals math dot min between height at x and height at y. Okay, and then we can say that max water equals math dot max um, smallest height. Okay, math dot max. So let's say max water smallest height times um, distance. Okay, so this is basically saying that max water, we're going to set max water to the maximum of what we currently have it as, and then smallest height plus times distance, so the current area. Okay, and then we'll say that if height at x is smaller than height at y, then that means that x is the current smallest height, so we need to that means we need to, what am I saying? We need to move it forward one, so we'll do x plus plus. Otherwise, else, y minus minus. And then in any case, we'll have to say distance minus minus because we're moving one inwards. And then at the end of this loop, we can go ahead and say return max water. So yeah, let me walk. Okay, so while x is smaller than y, smallest height equals the current smallest height. Yeah, then max water equals math dot max. So the current highest between the current max water and smallest height times distance. Okay, distance is here. If height at x is smaller than height at y, then x plus plus. Otherwise, y minus minus, and then distance minus minus. And okay, let's give it a run. Okay, int variable max water into max water equals. Okay, let's just set this to -1. Just because we need an initial value, but it'll never be negative, so that doesn't matter. Okay, so it works for both these test cases. Let's see if it works for everything. Okay, perfect. There we go. 78.28 time complexity.